Been a while since we've had this man on our program from the worldwide leader in sports covering the Nuggets and Timberwolves in Minneapolis. ESPN NBA reporter Dave McMenamin back here on the Rich Eisen Show. Good to see you, Dave.
Great to see you, Rich. Glad to be with you guys.
So where are the Nuggets right now in your on a scale of 1 to 10 in panic mode? What do you think here, Dave?
I mean, the best way I can describe my face watching Game 2 in Denver and seeing that carnage unfold at the hands of the Wolves was kind of like the cutaways to you during the Tom Brady roast.
Nice.
And watching the carnage unfold.
Okay.
I mean, what's going on? What's going on in the series? It's completely shocking. I think that Game 2, with all the elements in play, Rudy Gobert's out. You know you got to come back and bounce back after losing Game 1 at home. It's in Denver. All those elements in play, and it's never competitive. It was one of the more shocking games I've ever covered, quite frankly. It reminded me of the second round in 2022 where the Suns lost at home in the second round of Game 7 to the Dallas Mavericks, and it completely blown out, never had a chance in that game. And right now, of course, Denver is capable of winning 4 out of 5. They're the defending NBA champions, but every bit of momentum in this series is going in the Wolves' favor. It's going to be Friday night in Minneapolis, 8:30 local tip. First time in 20 years they've had a second-round playoff game at home. It's going to be a wild atmosphere at Target Center. And if Denver is going to win that game, they're going to have to deal with that constant kind of wall of energy to try to make it, a series. I quite frankly, I don't see it happening. I would almost be surprised if this thing goes back to Denver at this point.
Wow, that would be quite something if the Timberwolves just complete another sweep. This one of the defending NBA champs, but at least they have Jamal Murray available to them on Friday night. I mean, you mentioned the roast. I think they're lucky that Nikki Glaser isn't going to make a heat pack joke, at the expense of the Nuggets. But what's your reporting on the NBA's thinking to leave Murray active for this game?
Well, after we requested the pool report with Mark Davis on the night of Game 2, I had a pretty strong indication this would be the direction it went in, because that was the kind of original adjudication by the league. Mark Davis saying to a pool reporter that we didn't throw him out. And had we even seen what happened, we only would have assessed him a technical foul, because in their opinion, he did not try to hit anybody by throwing the heat pack. It was more out of frustration in their interpretation. Obviously, the league did its investigation, and they didn't find any different information than that original interpretation. Now, $100,000 fine is hefty. It's about as big as you're going to see from the league against a player. I mean, the only time you see a larger fine than that is basically a player or coach questioning the integrity of the officiating. But certainly there are some people that I've spoken to on the Wolves side of things that they want to be able to beat the Nuggets at full strength. It's not about that, but there was, a feeling that something like that is quite frankly dangerous. And if you watch the play, the way the pad slides across the court, a player could have tripped on it, a player could have stepped on it and slid, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with maybe a knee or a groin injury. But ultimately, I think the initial judgment from Mark Davis is what the league went by and carried that on.
And interestingly enough, I mean, Mark Davis had Michael Malone in his face literally earlier in that game, decided not to tee him up at all. And last night, Rick Carlisle was the coach in the face of Mark Davis, and Davis did, in fact, tee him up, but it looked like Carlisle was looking for it, so he could just put an exclamation point on what he was going to say after the game. And we played that soundbite to start the show where he feels that small market teams aren't given any credence against large market teams and things of that nature. What do you believe is the echoes of the regular season complaints about officiating in these playoffs and how it is playing out right now, Dave?
Listen, I covered Phil Jackson in a large market in Los Angeles. And I remember before the Lakers went into a series against the Oklahoma City Thunder one year, Phil had the initial salvo to try to get Olympic Tower's attention in New York, saying that Kevin Durant has too much artificial scoring and his numbers are boosted by a friendly whistle getting to the free throw line. Phil was fined. The Lakers went on to win that series. And to him, I'm sure it was a worthy investment because he just wanted to have his standpoint registered by the league, by the referees going into the series. And Rick Carlisle bit his tongue after game one, and I think anyone who watched game one would be on his side. There were several plays that the officials got wrong down the stretch, a costly kick ball that should not have been called, that should have been a steal that went the Pacers' way. They would have most likely scored in a transition opportunity. Meanwhile, the Knicks end up scoring a three on that possession. That's a 5 or 6 point swing. And then, of course, the illegal screen called on Miles Turner, upheld during a replay review. I understand the last 2-minute report upheld that call as well. But even if you're playing playground hoops, no one's calling that. That's as legal as a screen gets in terms of we are humans executing these plays. We're not robots. And so the fact that he did not choose to go nuclear after game one, to me, only led to this explosion for him after game two. Does he have a point? I don't know. I think you could say that you had a 12-point lead through the first couple of minutes of the third quarter, where the refs, punishing you for being a small market team for the first 26 minutes of the game. I don't think so. You still have to execute to win these things. But certainly a carryover effect, because there was a golden opportunity that they missed in game one, and now they're staring down the face of a 2-0 deficit going back to Indiana, and it could easily have been 1-1 if they got a better whistle in game one.
Dave McMenamin here on the Rich Eisen Show from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Game 3 is going to be on the worldwide leader in sports family of networks on Friday night with the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. Your personal opinion or thoughts as you're watching Anthony Edwards do what Anthony Edwards is doing and the conversation it is engendering with the name Michael Jordan being bandied about, thrown around these days, Dave?
Well, first of all, I haven't been around this team a ton, but being around them, being in the locker room and seeing the way his teammates respond to him, quite frankly, is so refreshing. I've seen him have conversations with really the 1 through 15 type of deal. He's talking to the guys who doesn't play. He's razzing the starters that he shares the court with. And there's just an easy way about him. There's an infectiousness to his presence. And I think that's a big part of why this team is enjoying its success right now. That, yes, Anthony Edwards getting the spotlight, the biggest he's ever gotten in his life, but he's bringing the Wolves along with him. And there was a moment after game 2 where he was being asked something about what he was doing in order to impact this series. And he stopped his answer. He might even stopped Karl Anthony Towns' answer to say, hey, let's give a shout out to Jaden McDaniels, who he's not up at the podium. He's not getting all the press, but he recognizes the importance of what his perimeter defense is allowing the Wolves defense to do as a whole and putting clamps down on the defending champs and the reigning MVP in Nikola Jokic. That part to me is almost as impressive as the on-court stuff. Because we've seen plenty of guys with a ton of talent, but if you can't get that talent to translate to wanting guys to play with you, you're not going to be able to accomplish everything that you can accomplish in this league. Right now, Anthony Edwards is the complete and total package. And, I mean, you think about him being 22, Minnesota could be a place that wins multiple championships over the next 5 to 10 years.
I mean, they're 6 wins into this. They haven't lost one yet. That said, the Thunder look pretty damn good in their game 1 performance against the Mavericks. So I guess 2 questions coming out of that one. Let's hit the Thunder first on that one, Dave. Are you surprised how quickly they're kind of putting their marker down on the Western Conference regular season and now so far in the playoffs? Seems like they're arriving a little bit ahead of schedule, perhaps.
Absolutely ahead of schedule, and a lot of that credit goes to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and just hitting a completely different level. There's a reason why Shaquille O'Neal is upset on Inside the NBA last night and saying to Nikola Jokic's face because he believed that he was unworthy of the MVP because SGA was worthy. I mean, he led the team to the best record in the Western Conference. His numbers were through the roof. And just like that spiel I gave about Edwards, he looks like a guy, it seems like a guy that guys like playing with. And they come at you in waves, Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren and Lou Dort. They are guys who play with an edge defensively, who have skills offensively, and that's what you need in the modern NBA. And that's a group right now. Now, I picked Dallas going into the series to win, I believe, in 7 games because I'm going to default to Luka Doncic and his ability to perform in big moments. But if you watch game 1, he did not look like the Luka Doncic we're all used to seeing. I mean, it's seeing his frustration, dealing with that wrap on his left knee late in the game. He had no lift whatsoever. Even though he was getting to his spots, he wasn't making his shots. And to me, it's because there was not, he doesn't have normal shooting for him because he can't push off that leg right now. And so Dallas looks like a team that's in some trouble, which is interesting because they look so good against the Clippers. And it's kind of like what I'm realizing as I cover this Wolves-Denver series right now is maybe the Clippers were really in disarray, even more so than we thought. And it made Dallas look that good. And maybe the same goes to the Lakers, where, we thought that was a really close series in the first round. But perhaps Denver was just feasting on a Lakers team that wasn't all that great, all that up to snuff. And so they looked better than they were actually playing because a Wolves team and an OKC team right now, those teams look like the class of the West.
Well, I mean, you answered my Mavericks question about Luka's health, so I guess let me just hit the big enchilada here. The sense is that maybe we're just rearranging deck chairs for the NBA Finals for the Celtics because, in the same way that the Celtics watched Tatum on fumes in their last NBA Finals kind of run, now he's just kicking back like Red Auerbach, watching Derek White make threes like crazy and the rest of the team handle their business to win by 25. So which team do you think that's still out there is best equipped to upset the Celtics apple cart when it's all said and done? Dave?
I think it's Minnesota. They had the number 1 ranked defense in the regular season. They had, as of game 5, their 5th game of the playoff run, so game 1, of the second round, the number 1 ranked offense in the postseason. I mean, so they're given to you both ways. They have the defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert. Just the way they played with force and physicality. And it seems like this is what the NBA is going to allow you to do. And I have no complaints about it. I think it's great for us covering the game and watching the games. They can throw NWA at you, and they can throw Jaden McDaniels at you, and even Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards are giving plus defensive performances and not allowing their games just to be predicated by their offense. And then you throw in a 7'4" guy or 7'3" guy in the middle and Gobert, you can funnel everything to him. It's remarkable. They don't see a hole in their game, and they have a wonderful coach in Chris Finch, who I think could match wits or maybe even run circles around in some respects Joe Mazzulla with the Boston Celtics. So I think they are equipped right now. I wouldn't say they'd be the favorites. Boston was the number 1 team in the regular season for a reason, but I don't think they are going to have any sense of dread or fear factor going against the Celtics teams should they get, I guess, the 6 more wins they need to get to the NBA Finals.
And L'Enfant Gobert has been born, correct? You can confirm? That is correct?
I can confirm.
Okay. It's a boy? It's a masculine child for Rudy Gobert? Is that who it is?
It's a baby boy. It's a baby boy.
Okay.
And he said he was so he didn't know if it was exhausted or excitement, but he was so overcome watching game 2, holding his baby boy that he got a little emotional seeing how well they played without him.
Remarkable. Last one for you. So the Charlotte Hornets have named a new head coach. It is Charles Lee, the lead assistant for Joe Mazzulla for the Celtics, and he's going to finish out the Celtics playoff season. Where are the Lakers, sir? Down the street. We're just down the road or up the road, depending on where you're standing, from the Lakers facility here in El Segundo. What's going on with their coach search, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, the only two candidates I've reported, or I guess I've reported on three, but one just got an extension from the Mavericks and Jason Kidd. But the only two I've reported on, and I stand fast as the two, I guess, I don't know if I would say top names, but certainly names that the Lakers clearly have interest in are Tyronn Lue and JJ Redick. Now, Tyronn Lue, there's been reports from ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski the Clippers intend to extend him. Until that happens, he will remain a person of interest for the Lakers head coaching job. We shall see what will happen. We know that Steve Ballmer has the deepest pockets out of any NBA owner, and he could present a number to Tyronn Lue, and it's a moot conversation, and the Lakers will have to look elsewhere. But there remains interest in Tyronn Lue, and JJ Redick's someone who the team views as an intriguing, young, smart prospect, someone who could grow in the job, and obviously has established a rapport with LeBron James, and the Lakers intend to have LeBron James come back on any term that he wants to, whether that be a 1-year deal, 2-year deal, 3-year deal, whatever. They'd love to continue to have LeBron James in the purple and gold until he calls it quits, whenever that may be. And so those are the names right now. I've seen other reporting by other outlets listing a bunch of candidates. Of course, the Lakers are aware of every potential person they could hire. And at some point, the list could expand, but they are staying relatively focused there. They intend to talk to experienced candidates. I know I said JJ Redick, he's not experienced. He would be the exception. There's a preference to find an experienced candidate, and as they expand, if they need to, look for them to add experienced candidates to that list. But right now, those are the two names I have heard with real, genuine interest that the Lakers have it.
And would giving LeBron what he wants, anything that he wants, include drafting his son? Do you think, Dave?
I don't think so. You look at the Lakers; they have the number 17 pick in the first round, the number 55 pick in the second round. If Bronny James stays in the NBA draft, he's not going to be drafted in the range of 17, and he's going to be off the board by 55. And with the value of that 17 pick, the true value, I should say, being a potential trade asset for the Lakers, being able to move 3 first-round picks on draft night, potentially, to acquire a big name ready to perform, someone of the level of a DeJounte Murray or a Trae Young or a Donovan Mitchell. That pick will certainly not be used on anyone if they had their druthers, and it wouldn't be used on Bronny James. And quite frankly, if you listen to LeBron's messaging really over about the last year and a half, it hasn't been, I need to play with my son. It's, I need to share the NBA court with my son, and that can happen as opponents.
Dave, appreciate the time, brother. Always appreciate following you on Twitter at MC10 and everything else that you're doing. Appreciate the time here, sir.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. That's Dave McMenamin. He's going to open the curtains behind him, and we'll see what's behind. You know what's behind curtain number 1? Game 3 of the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. Good to see you, Dave. Appreciate it.
See you guys.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.